everyone, welcome back to my channel. It is nearing the end of the year, so I decided I wanted to make a year in review. This year in review isn't going to be based on time as much as like different horses that I rode, and just looking at some of my old rides and commenting on them and remembering how far I've come from where I was. Because I've done a lot of riding this year, it is going to be a bit of a longer video, but I would really appreciate it if you guys watched and stayed till the end. The first horse on my list is going to be Finding Fernhill, or Nemo. Now remember, this was from about a year ago, so it's definitely nowhere near my best riding quality. Also, please don't comment on the Dijon set. I know everyone hates it, but I love it so much. Mine's a little cursed right now, so I haven't worn it much, but I still am absolutely in love with the color. I haven't posted about him much in recent times at all. However, I do have a new video coming out very soon about him and our current situation. Overall, he was a very good boy. As you can see, I am not the steadiest with my hands, nor am I the kindest. I'm also a little bit looser in my seat than I should be, and I'm not supporting him with my leg, and especially my thigh, nearly as much as I should have. But he's a good boy, and he just let me sit on him and do what I was doing, and he didn't throw a fuss or get upset about anything like that. So I would consider this ride pretty successful looking back. I mean, this is the kind of ride that if you had it on a horse and you're interested in buying a horse and it goes this well, you would probably consider continuing to explore the option of purchasing him, which is what we did. I love how he stretches right here. He really stretches down super nicely, and he does fall on the forehand a little bit, but also it was my first ride on him, and he was so good, and I was so thankful for that. Next, I have some clips of me jumping him because I know that's what everyone wants to see. This was my first attempt at kind of like a mini course on him. The jumps were pretty low, and he's a pretty laid-back guy, so I was feeling confident but also nervous because I was like, I don't want to mess this horse up. He's a good boy, you know. And so we ended up botching our distances, like right there. But he carried me through it and just kept going, and I was so grateful for that. After we did some mini courses, we did some bigger jumps, just going straight up to them. As you can see, he was being a very good boy. We were botching some distances and whatnot, and the jumps kept going up. That was actually a meter, and it was my first time ever jumping a meter. So this was the first horse that ever took me over a meter oxer, and he kept me safe, and it was a really amazing experience. Because of these amazing experiences that I had on him, we decided to move forward with purchasing him. I would come out every day, and he'd been off for quite a while, so I came out a lot and did side reins on him just to try and get him to build up some more top line muscle because he needed it, and I am a very big advocate that horses need to be properly muscled so they can do the work that they're doing. I also played with him a lot. Here's a video of him running around in a field after I had been playing with him. As you can see, he was just a really happy-go-lucky guy, and he had such a presence. He was gorgeous and so much fun to be around. It was around this time when I had to go home for medical issues, so I took some videos of him jumping just to send to the trainer who I was moving back home to be with, because I had never actually ridden with her that much before I went home. I took some videos of us going over some bigger stuff in lines and whatnot, and us getting not great distances, just to show, hey, he's a really good boy. While I was home, however, we realized he was not the right horse for me, and it just wasn't the right time for us to be together. And it was very unfortunate, and it broke my heart, but part of riding is recognizing your limitations and doing what's best for you and your horse. So I had to look forward to something new. So I started showing a lesson pony named Platinum Doll, and she is an absolute doll and just a dream to ride. When I say I was so lucky to get the opportunity to ride and show this lesson pony, I absolutely mean it. She jumped a 10, she was so cute and so simple and just a real confidence builder. She is like what everyone imagines that they want in their lesson program. She had her quirks, she would fall in sometimes, but that was just really good to teach people like, hey, you need to actually help your horse. Like there, whenever we chip in, it's just because I didn't have enough leg on, or I was looking down and I wasn't looking up like I should have been. And she was just really helpful at showing you those places where you go wrong and helping you find the places that you needed to improve on. She also had an absolutely massive jump. She would flip her hind end over a lot of the fences, which is a little hard to ride sometimes, but it's really important that you learn how to ride those. So, you know, when you start jumping bigger and your horse has to flip its hind end, you're more comfortable and just better set up for success. We took turns like that super tight because we could, because she was just the perfect pony. Every time you see her tail go straight up like that, that is her flipping her hind end over it. Sometimes she does kick out a little bit because she's a little silly, but we love her regardless. And when she does kick out, it's never mean-spirited. It's always, "Wee, I'm having so much fun. Let's go, girls." Overall, I'd give this round probably a 6 out of 10. It wasn't great, but we had a lot of nice movements in there. We sliced a couple things really nice. We came way too close to that fence. I should have pushed her out more. But overall, it was just really fun to get back in the ring and do some pee-wee puddle jumpers. Oh, and there was a buck because she was so happy and so pumped at herself because she's like, "I did such a good job, guys. Did you see me? I was amazing." And personally, I love a horse who celebrates their victories because it just shows you that they're a happy horse and they like their job. And I think it's really important that the horse you're riding likes his job. Well, her job, because Platinum Doll is a girl. Here is yet again another round. We come in too close to a lot of these fences, because this was one of my first times ever riding her, but she was so good and took amazing care of me, even when I would slice things or not set her up as well as I should have. She is mainly a jumper. She can do the hunters and the eck, and she has won many titles in them. However, I am much more of a jumper, and I tend to light horses up, and they tend to be a little bit more exaggerated and expressive in their rides with me. So for a horse who's like this, who you can't tell right now, but from experience, she's very hot, and I actually had to hold her back quite a bit, and I definitely should not have held her back as much as I did. Like there, we trotted, which absolutely a no-go. But once again, I was a little nervous, so I was just trying to play it safe and calm and just be as chill as I could possibly be on these rides. She took care of me beautifully. This ride also wasn't great, but I'm so thankful that she carried me through it so well and was such a good girl for me. I mean, she's a good girl for everyone, but it's still really nice to ride horses like that. I absolutely love quarter crosses. Here's a video of us flatting and preparing to jump before a show, and I mean, just look at her cute little canter. It is so comfortable. I am being dead serious when I say this. If anyone is looking for a first-time horse or something to add to their lesson program for anyone from beginners to intermediate and advanced people to have fun on, absolutely pick a quarter cross. They are so fun, and they will try their hardest for whoever's on their back, 9 times out of 10. They'll try and save you, and they're pretty much just game for anything. Like, look at that cute little jump and how she saved me going into that line. Just a perfect little mare. When you watch this round, it's not gonna look great, but this was actually a round that got me a first place at a West Palm Horseshow. It was the .70s, so little itty-bitty jumpers, but also she's a pony, and this was like my second day riding her, my third ride on her ever, so I was pretty happy with it. That jump was terrible, and that was a pretty bad time for me to say I was happy with this ride. I messed up a lot. I did not push her forward nearly enough, so we were chipping into everything terribly. But once again, she's such a good girl, she's so forgiving, and she didn't hold anything against me, and we ended up stealing that first place spot. Now we're going to start picking up some speed, and the fences are just going to come up a lot nicer, the distances are going to be a lot more natural, the jumps are going to be much better in general. This show, I did actually win a special class and got a special reserve championship ribbon and won reserve champion overall for the .70s. However, when I went to go grab a reserve champion ribbon, they were out of them, so I had to get one after, and I didn't get that fun little photo in front of the West Palm wall. But it's okay, because I was just so happy with how we did, and just so pumped that I was able to go and show a horse I'd never really sat on and do really well. And now we're moving on to Kilcondra Top Gun, aka Goose. This was my first ride on him ever. He was a 4-year-old and he had just pulled up a couple days ago, and as you can see, he's being so perfect. I was super cautious and super nervous to sit on him because this is by far one of the fanciest horses I've ever sat on when it comes to breeding, and an extremely young and talented little lad. I absolutely loved every moment of this, even though I was low-key paralyzed during all of it. But he was just such a good boy and just such a solid citizen that it was so much fun every single time I sat on him. His owner was kind enough to let us take him for a month and take him to shows and everything, just to see how he did and how he performed in new and stressful environments with a semi-anxious rider. We were interested in potentially buying him, but we wanted to make sure that he was a really, really solid horse before we went and started doing something like that. So this was my first show round on him, and he's flipping his head a lot because he didn't have a ton of muscling and he wanted to run onto the forehand, but we don't want him to do that, so we were asking him just to kind of rock back. And we are trotting into all of the jumps because he was only trained on the eventing jumper side of it, so he would see jumps and go, oh, I need to go fast, I need to run, and not really listen to you when you asked him to hold and sit back. So the main goal was to trot in between all of the fences, not in lines of course, but all of the other fences, just to kind of cement this idea in his brain that just because we're going over a raised pole does not mean we need to yeehaw all the time. And that worked really well. We had so much fun jumping, and there's some times where he goes a little quicker than I feel he should have, but it was okay because we both came out of it alive and we both knew what we were doing, and we both had enough confidence in ourselves and each other to trust each other enough to go over the fences. I was so proud of him there because he trotted in and trotted out, which shows him just starting to understand that concept more aggressively of, hey, we don't need to change our pace and our tempo after a fence. He was such a model citizen through all of this. You wouldn't know it, but there was a horse screaming in the background of this. There was a tractor going in the arena next to us. And for a 4-year-old who came from Nevada a couple weeks ago to getting thrown on with a new rider who is an adult Ammy and into a new ring he's never been before and doing a discipline he's never done before, he did phenomenally well. Here is another round that we did at that same show. So I couldn't find the original video. However, one of the things that pushed us to buy him was we were going down a bending line and I was trying to do a sliding release because he's an eventer and I'm also an eventer, and that's kind of how they're trained, especially when he would jump big and it would be extremely unexpected. And I literally dropped my outside rein. So I was only holding one rein, and he was just calmly cantering towards the other fence. And in the middle of a line, I was able to bring him back to the trot. Well, I grabbed my rein first, and then I was able to bring him back to the trot. This 4-year-old, super pumped horse. And we were like, oh my god, he is an angel sent from heaven. We absolutely need him. But as you can see, he also has quite a lot of natural talent for the hunters and really the eck. And I do think he was meant to be a bit of an equitation horse. So that does make me struggle a little bit because I'm like, oh, I want to do what he has the most natural talent for. However, I absolutely hate the equitation. I have a lot of chronic illnesses and I have them in my joints so my body can't bend and do equitation in the way the judges want to see without it hurting sometimes, like popping a rib out of place or whatever. So in that regard, I would not be able to do the equitation a lot, but I would do it enough that he could hopefully win some stuff and add it to his record, because I think if I was feeling really good and my body was feeling good, then we would absolutely slay and win some really fancy titles. Of course, winning titles is not everything when it comes to riding horses. You want to have a fun, natural ride, and with Goose, I feel that. Like, it feels like we connect so well together, and I just don't want to give that up. I mean, I'm not saying he's my heart horse, because I honestly don't know if I've ever experienced that with any horse at all, but he's pretty damn close. This ride that I'm showing you, it's obviously not perfect. There's a ton of head tossing, but I implore you to remember that this was because he had zero top line and had basically been sitting in a field for 3 months, and he was just trying to balance himself. And that just goes to show how amazing of a horse he is, that he tries to naturally balance himself in any way he can. This is a few months later, and this is his first dressage test. The halt was abysmal, but we expected that because we hadn't been working on the halt. We had been training balance, correctness, and really just him lifting his back and using it correctly. If you remember from the video when I first sat on him, he had a gorgeous headset. Well, I regret to inform you that that was a false headset. He was not working through his body. He was basically like, I think I need to have my head down, and I know I'm supposed to have my head down, so I'm gonna put my head down, but I am not going to use my body correctly. And in this household, we believe in correct dressage. So we don't care if that's what he's looking like. We need him to move correctly and use his body correctly. So we had to untrain that from him, that idea of, oh, you just need your head down, when in reality we needed him to work through his entire body, and then start training, hey, I need you to work through your body, I need you to pick your back up, your neck up, your hind end up. And so this dressage test is a little rough when you compare it to that original video. However, we did end up breaking a 60, which doesn't sound great, it's honestly the bare minimum, but I did not care. I was just really happy that we broke a 60 and everything went okay. You can't tell in this video because I have silenced it, but there is a lot of screaming from a lot of different stallions. On a 4-year-old horse, that is absolutely terrifying. But, so I was not a ton of help. I was a little bit stuck in my head, and so made me make mistakes, such as not pushing him forward enough in the walk and causing him to curl under himself a little bit. Well, more than a little bit. This is just abysmal and nowhere near my standards, but that is why that happened, because I am not immune to stress and I am not immune to getting in my head. But as you can see here, I kind of tried to push him forward and just let his head go out and not focus on keeping it down. I just wanted him to be a little bit more swingy. Did it look great? No, it was terrible. But I was just happy that I noticed that, hey, he's curling under and that is not okay, and we do not want to train our horses to do that because he is young. So every single ride on him, he learns. And that is something that I have had to reconcile with. Just the idea of, if I do good, he learns from it. If I do bad, he learns from it. But either way, he learns. And it's really interesting because I can always feel it. The next ride and the next ride and the next ride. I'm like, oh, I see how he does this. I see how he does that. Not to mention, oh, look at him. He's such a cute mover. He's built a little bit downhill, but he's not terribly downhill. And I just love quote unquote plain horses, like horses without a lot of markings, or horses with a ton of markings, like bald face or paint horses. Either one. I was super late on that canter transition because I did not get him up off my inside leg. That was not his fault at all. But once again, we still managed to crack a 60. And I was just like, we need to canter here. And he was like, okay, but you told me to rock back on my hind end, so I'm gonna trot. We were definitely not as prepared for this dressage test as we could have been. However, this was to get a baseline. This was to go out and make mistakes and see where we needed to fix ourselves. and it gave us a pretty good baseline. Unfortunately, I had to go back to school basically right after this show, so I have not gone to another dressage show yet. However, we will go to another one soon. To show you that we've gotten better, I've included some clips from a lesson. First off, the walk is much better. It's not as lively as I would like it, however, he is stepping under himself more. This exercise is a 3-loop serpentine where you canter at various parts of the serpentine. The thought process behind this exercise was that it would help him when it comes to quick transitions and balance, which are 2 things that we did kind of struggle with in our dressage test, and it would help me with thinking on my feet. As we only canter for short bursts, and during some of those bursts I don't know that they're coming because the trainer just says canter, and then I went to go canter. It forces me to set him up better during the entire test, because I never know when I'm going to need an upward transition or a downward transition. I also love 3-loop serpentines. I was so sad when they got rid of them in T3. I understand why, because you need to learn how to do the 1-loop, and I hate the 1-loop, but I still miss them, and I think they're a phenomenal training tool. But as you can see, we have a lot more balance, there's much more regularity in our gait, much better rhythm, and everything. Our geometry is not perfect. However, that is not the focus of this exercise. The focus is, and we're picking up the canter, and we are cantering, and we're stopping, and we're turning again, and we're cantering, and turning, and cantering, and turning. And all of those things help to shape the horse's and the rider's mind thinking forward. And I definitely need that, and I think he benefited from these types of training as well. Because when I came back to ride him during some breaks and such, I noticed a difference in how he thought. Here is an example. As you can see, he's much more balanced, and he's much more forward-going and forward-thinking, and I attribute that to lessons and training rides, such as the one that I showed you when he was in the hot pink dressage colors. This is a warm-up for a jumping show that happened when I came home from break. We are the middle horse going over a little 2-3 vertical. We were still trying to keep his jumping to a very low minimum, because I don't want to hurt his joints. And I would like a horse with longevity, and jumping big just doesn't seem like the best option. However, I did include this video because I think he jumps super cute. He's very careful about his hind end and his front end, which I think is just adorable, and will make a very good eventing horse, because it shows him being like, hey, I recognize that there's something back there, and I don't want to hit it, which, if an obstacle is solid, is very, very, very good quality. This was the first class I took him in, with me listed as his owner. It was a little 2-3 equitation class, and we ended up placing first. I do have that footage a little later in this highlight, because obviously it was the highlight of my year. And that may sound sad to you, but this is the first show I've ever done with a horse listed as me being the owner. And it just really meant a lot to me, and I took it as kind of a sign of good things to come. This flat class was a bit of a disaster. A pony took off, there was things running on the outside as well, there was a ton of noise happening, and he was the youngest horse in this class by far, and he took it like an absolute champ. As you can see, he definitely is an equitation horse. I mean, if you look at him going around, his headset is very cute, he's using his hind end, he's tracking up everything that the judges in the equitation should be looking for, in my opinion. He's also so comfortable at the sitting trot, which is one way I think I was able to win this, because of my dressage training, because like I said, cross training is amazing, and because he's just so comfortable, it's really hard to bounce out of the tack. I did have a bit of a misunderstanding during this flat class. I thought that it was like dressage during the sitting trot, where you want a trot worth sitting, so I kept trying to push him for more, which apparently I shouldn't have been doing, but I think it made him look so much cuter. We also had a very cute down transition there, and during the walk to the center, as you can see, he's really the only horse in this group who is using his neck and his back, which is not hating on the other horses or the other riders. I just think that's one thing that really helped us stand out and end up winning this class. Okay, I'm just gonna speed this up to the announcement, because you know how EQ judges are. They take forever to deliberate because they want to be sure that they're placing the right people in the right positions.
First place, Blue Ribbon, a little injury, 514. Alexandria Gallagher.
Woo!
Second place is 535.
I was so proud of us after we won that class, and I was really excited to get to the fences. Now, I realized right as I was approaching the first oxer in this course that I'd never jumped an oxer on him. And if you've ever done a horse's first oxer, you know that sometimes they decide to jump it like it's a 4-foot fence. So I ended up throwing my body at him and losing my stirrup, and it was a disaster. But once again, just a testament to how much of a good boy he was. Even though I threw my body at him, even though the stirrup was clanging and my leg wasn't where it was supposed to be, he was like, I'm just gonna go a little bit faster because I think that might be what you want me to do, but I'm honestly not sure. And I was like, okay, bud, thank you for being such an amazing good boy. The oxer was this second fence in the video, so I am going to speed this up because I circle a bunch trying to get my stirrup back, which he's like, why are you scrubbing on my sides? I don't know what that means, but I turn off of it because I was being just a little bit silly. And eventually I finally get to the fence. Once again, just a testament to how amazing this horse is and how amazing of a brain he truly has. Coming up to this line, it was pretty good. We stayed relatively straight, especially considering our older videos. Because I had to circle twice, I was super nervous and got super in my head, so we trotted here because I didn't put enough leg on to help him, and I was just thinking, oh my god, I just won that flat class, and now I am having one of the worst rides of my life. Looking back, the bad parts are terrible, but the good parts are pretty good. So it kind of balances out if you think about it. And we trot again because I was nervous about this line going home towards the in-gate because historically, he gets a little excited. As you can see, he was a very, very good boy. He just jumped it a little bigger than he should have, but he's just excited to be here. And I would much rather have a horse who is excited to do his job than a horse who, whenever you take them out and wants to ride them and you point them at a fence, they go, oh my god, kill me, I hate this. This is another round just because I want to show y'all that, hey, I did actually improve and it gets better. You just gotta keep doing the thing over and over and over again. Once again, we are just gonna trot in. He is so swagger and so cute. He doesn't have much of a tail, which is unfortunate, so I am gonna have to buy him a fake tail, but honestly, just given how cute he is, that's fine. The transition was okay. It was pretty short, and I like that it didn't give us a lot of time to prepare to kind of show the judge, like, hey, we know what we're doing. I got left behind on that one, and that's why I patted him on the neck, because if I make a mistake, my horse gets pats. I don't care if it makes me earn less points or whatever. My horse always comes first. You're going to notice a lot of counter-cantering here. This is because we are working on his lead change here, and some schools of thoughts go, you just want to let them counter-canter until they get it. He was strong enough that we figured we would try it. Overall, it did not really work, but my goal was to just not trot this round because if you remember, I trotted last round and it was a little upsetting. That line was not straight at all, but he always wanted to gravitate towards that ring. I think it's because he's telling me he really wants to be a jumper. We had to do a trot change there, and we did it too close to the fence so we didn't get the change, but that's okay because it was still cute, and overall this round was a lot better put together in my opinion than the last round. He was flipping his head quite a bit, and so over some of the fences I would end up catching him with my reins, which is not good. However, it's kind of like a pick your poison, you know? If he chooses to flip his head and chuck it out that far, and he hits my hand, that's not exactly my fault. And here's a video of us just hacking out around the property, loose rein, and him being just the perfectest boy he can possibly be. The next horse is Unika, or Nika for short. Now, this one's a little weird because this ride is technically from 2023. However, this ride did end up winning me a state championship that went from 2023 to 2024 that I ended up having to give back in 2024. So I do kind of count it because it is part of my riding year that I had this title. Some important things to note about this horse. She has arthritis in her neck, so I am not going to force her to put her neck and head down because that is physically uncomfortable and it can be painful for her. If she chooses to do it herself, that is her choice, but I am not going to put her in a frame like that and cause damage to this horse. She is perfect and amazing, and she's 20 years old, and she has more than earned this right. She is actually a catch ride, so I rode her when I came back from school one year, qualified to go to state championships, figured, what the heck, let's go. And we ended up doing pretty okay at state championships. I mean, we won, so how could we not? She is perfect. The judges do tend to love her because how can you not? Riding her feels almost like riding a jackhammer, but I quite enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's a really good test for how strong your thighs are and how good you can sit on a horse who doesn't have the smoothest canter ever. But it makes her look so cute, and if this horse was like, I don't know, maybe like 12 years younger and wanted to jump because she does not like to jump, I absolutely would have bought her in a heartbeat. As you can see, she is just the most adorable little thing. She's built uphill. She is strutting her legs out. She absolutely loves to show. Her family had considered retiring her this year. However, someone else rode her, and she went out and strutted her stuff and showed them that she does not want to be retired. And that's her choice. Some horses can never be 100% retired, and I absolutely think she is one of them. We got great marks on this walk because it was pretty damn good, as you can see. This is proof that I can do a halfway decent walk, and I know what a decent walk looks like. So please do not look at the videos from me showing Goose and go, this girl does not know what a good dressage walk is, because I do, I try, I'm just not the best at riding. But I love it so much, and so I don't think I will ever quit, even if I know realistically I don't have the most talent for it. In case you can't tell, I absolutely love this horse. I love this horse's family, I love this horse's trainer, and I will defend her with every fiber of my being. Anything that you look at this video and say, that's weird, that's wrong, I don't like that, that is my fault. This horse would never do anything wrong. She has never stepped a foot out of place, and in all reality, never will. She was such an amazing horse to do this with. I was super nervous because this was like the first competition of this level I had ever actually qualified for, and even though I was a bundle of nerves, I actually threw up before this ride and didn't tell anyone. She was like, it's okay fam, I got you, I'm gonna carry you through this, just sit up there like a sack of potatoes and I will make us look amazing. And she did. I genuinely cannot sing enough phrases about this horse. This will be the horse that I tell people about when they say, what's one of the best horses you've ever ridden? This horse. She's the reason I got into dressage and then ended up wanting to pursue eventing. She has changed and shaped so much of my riding career that I am just so proud that I can say I got to sit on her. Other people can be like, oh, I got to sit on this super fancy horse. I got to sit on Vallegro. No, I get to sit on Unika, and that is probably one of the most accomplished things I can ever say I will ever do in my life. Because this horse is so special. I cannot overstate that. I'm actually like starting to tear up talking about it. That's how much I care about this horse, and that's how emotional I get thinking about the impact that this horse has had on me as a person, as an equestrian, as a rider, as a horse lover, as everything all together. Now we're nearing the end of the test. There was a lot of things wrong with it. The halt is pretty decent. We're a little fidgety because she's like, oh my gosh, the atmosphere in here is crazy. But it was okay. And here is us walking in with our neck ribbon. She is strutting her stuff and walking because she knows she deserves it, and she's absolutely 100% right. She does. I'm going to speed this part up because this is where they take pictures of the things you won. So I ended up winning a trophy and a halter for her, which I left with her trainer and her mother, because that way whenever she goes to shows, she'll have a fancy halter to wear and it can hang outside her stall and everyone can know what an amazing horse she is and that she got to win a halter. And after this was the victory lap, where I decided that I wanted to go a little Western with it. I'll show you what that means when we actually get to that. So how victory laps work is the first lap, it's like the person who got champion and then reserve champion is behind them and you can go as fast as you want. I was like, okay, you just do you, girl. You won this much more than I did. Just go for it. And my trainer scolded me. She was like, you should have tried to put her together. And I was like, you're so right. I am an absolute idiot. This was after I got off, by the way. I was just kind of enjoying it and let her have her moment, though, because she was like, y'all, something's happening. And I was like, you're damn right something's happening. You won. You're such a good girl. And here he's pointing for me to go around again. So I go around again and I'm like, okay, let's go, honey. Go. And I tried to gas her up as much as possible, as much as you can. A 20-year-old horse who isn't very hot. She's a little bit in front of your leg, but she's not super hot. You can't ride her in spurs or whip though. She will lose her mind. But down this stretch, I was like, okay, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go one rein and put our hand forward like we're Western. And she said, I don't know what's going on, but I'm gonna go towards the person because I love people. And she was just such a good girl. I was so proud of her and so happy. Literally nothing is better than winning on a horse that you care about so much. Even if you don't own them, just being on them and winning makes you feel like I've done this horse justice. The next horse is Toddy. I did not ride her this year that I can remember. However, I did make a video or two about her, so I just wanted to share a quick little update. This is my sister's horse, and while my name is technically on the deed, she really only likes my sister. So I figured I would show you how she's doing after the move. She settled in really well. Everyone at the barn absolutely loves her because how could you not? She has found her replacement person for when my sister is not there, and when my sister is there, she gets so pumped and so excited. They are doing the jumpers like normal. Of course, they have dabbled in the hunters and the equitation before, but Totti really hates them, with a passion. She will tolerate them for my sister, but she makes it very clear during the entire thing that she doesn't like it. She has been doing pretty good. They've been working on a lot of technique and stuff like that, as well as just jumping up and getting as much confidence as possible in themselves and in each other before the show season comes. Overall, my sister's been doing great and we're so proud of her, and she's pretty happy with the barn and just how they've progressed in general. And as you can see, she's a very happy pony. Next summer, I may go out and hack her a little bit to help my sister out though. I don't have any cutesy show photos of him, but this is Cav, and this is one of our more recent jumping videos. As you can see, he has his adorable forward gait, and honestly, this video is pretty good. I really can't complain about it. We have been jumping a little higher than this video recently, but I don't have a video of that right now. I'm really enjoying riding him. He is so much fun. I have a really cool announcement about him coming up too, so stay tuned. He is also the last horse on this list. You'll notice we do have a little bit of cross-cantering and a falling in issue during this round. We go back again and try some of the parts where we fell in again, and we do it much better. It's also been getting better because I've just been getting to know him, and he's really sensitive, and I just put my outside thigh on too much and don't put my inside thigh on enough. So he dives to the inside quite a bit when I do that. But overall, I'd say we're doing really good. And I think this little video just shows like, hey, we're actually doing pretty good and we're making really nice progress. Not to mention he's such a cutie. And the way he jumps, oh, it's so adorable. This video quality is not great, I'm just going to warn you, there's a lot of light and dark. This is actually some video that I used in another video about the day in a life as a pre-vet equestrian in college. And this was about a month and a half ago. We've gotten much better at the flower work and the dressage since then. However, I do not have any recent videos. I am basically alone, you know? So I don't have people coming up to record me every single day at the barn. I was just lucky that my sister was free and she decided that she wanted to come up and see a horse because her horse, Toddy, is about an hour away from her. So whenever she gets sad, she comes up to the barn with me. As you can see, Cab is a cutie. He has a little bit of winter weight on him, but for Colorado, I don't think that's like super bad, you know, because sometimes it can get really, really cold and most people would rather them have weight to shiver off than become super skinny. I'm going to struggle with the connection quite a bit here through my hands. As you could see in the videos before this, I have gotten much better at it. I don't really need tips, I figured it out. It was due to a lot of core and shoulder instability and muscle weakness, but we've worked on some training with that and I've worked out a bit, which has made it much better. That's a little spook from him. He's a little spooky, but he's a very good boy in the sense that he goes, okay, that is concerning, that is scary. However, I have someone on my back and they are my top priority. I'm going to spook slightly to let them know that something is there. But I am not going to overreact like most horses would. He has a really killer walk. I'm not going to get it in this video, but I promise if you subscribe, you'll see more of that. We're gonna go to our first 3-day event some point in the next coming year. So if you want to see that, I would highly recommend that you subscribe. I try and build my platform on positivity and I'm doing my best. Like I said earlier in this video, I am not the best rider and I know that, but that's not going to stop me from trying to do my best. Just like my sister is not the best videographer, as you can clearly see. So he's fighting me quite a bit, and I'm just kind of trying to get his attention back, and I'm trying to loosen his mouth because he is bracing on one side, then I get that side, then he starts bracing on the other. He is my trainer's horse, so he is a much higher quality horse than I normally ride and a much more sensitive horse than I normally ride. So sometimes I need to get a little bit more aggressive with my aids than I would like because I'm like, I don't know what to do to get your attention. And the reality is I just needed to take my knee off the saddle or shift my hip to the inside. So it's really just been learning those tricks of like how to ride much better. It's kind of like when you are first learning how to ride a horse. You learn how to trot. Also, this is adorable. So cute. Oh my god. But it's kind of like when you're first learning how to ride a horse. You learn how to trot, and your goal is to stay on. And then you're like, yeah, I got this. I'm so good. And then you learn how to post. And then you go, oh my god, I am terrible. How did I think I was good? And then you get good at that. And then you're like, oh my god, I'm amazing. Once again, I know everything. And then they tell you about posting trot, and then sitting trot, and then leg yields or collection and extensions. And it's kind of just that cycle, and I'm back in the, oh my god, I know nothing. I was so wrong. How did I think I was a good rider? But, like always, you come out of it and you're a better rider for it. This leg yield is not the straightest, but towards the end, we got a lot of lateral movement out of the shoulder, which was pretty nice. I just needed him to push forward more and ask more diligently with my leg. This was also towards the very beginning of our partnership, and I thought that he wanted me to use a lot of rein because he kept kind of like reaching for it, but not in like a I'm gonna stretch way. To me, it felt like an I want you to micromanage me. I was completely wrong. He did not want to be micromanaged at all, but I love to micromanage. So that's also where a huge disconnect comes from in this ride. But I think it's really important that we look back at our old rides and say, that was bad. I know that was bad. Here's why it was bad. And here is what I have been doing to fix it. And it's gotten better. Because the reality is, if you recognize the points of your ride that are not good, and you do your best to make it better, you will, in theory, eventually improve. Now, obviously, there's some things you might not be able to improve. Like, for instance, my position will never be the perfect equitation position because, like I've said, I have physical barriers. But when it comes to being a more quiet and subtle rider, that is something that I think everyone can strive for and everyone can do. It sounds like I'm being hard on myself, or to some people it might sound like I'm not being hard enough on myself. But I have found that this year especially, I needed to find a balance of I can be hard on myself, but at some point I just have to recognize that I did the best that I could do, or that I'm still learning, and to cut myself some slack. Like this leg yield, it's pretty damn straight. Sure, we lose it a little bit at the end, but when we started, it was pretty good. And recognizing that, hey, it got better, and it was so much better from where we started, is probably one of the biggest things I've had to learn this year, and something that I'm hoping will serve me well, is just my ability to say, this sucked, I recognize this sucked, but I tried, and I got better.
Hello everyone, it is me again, in a different shirt. I finished editing it. It took a very long time because, it was like my entire year. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you have any questions, comment down below. And if you want to see what I get up to in the new year, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all had a good year, and I hope you have an even better year next year. And remember, it's dangerous, so don't die out there.